Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity, and I have to tell you, man, I'm still kind of got chills on me from the interview I just finished, and that is with the great, legendary, iconic, and a whole bunch of other superlatives, Don Felder, formerly of the Eagles. Don, as you know, he co-wrote or he wrote the music for Hotel California. He didn't do the lyrics, and it was his touch and some of his co-writing that you hear and enjoy from a lot of other Eagles songs. And gosh, he is just the nicest guy to talk to. Very sweet, very happy, very encouraging, and man, I just had the best talk with him. We could have talked for hours. He was on a tight schedule, and I, quite frankly, lost track of time. I was so caught up in the conversation, and I think you're going to really enjoy this. If you've not listened to any other Boomerocity interview, I hope you listen to this one because this one is for the record books. While you're listening to it, if you don't mind, please hit like and subscribe. Won't cost you anything, but it sure helps Boomerocity out a lot. And if you have friends who are Eagles fans or Don Felder fans or classic rock fans or just love music history, please share this interview with them and ask them to do the same, to hit like and subscribe. You already know, if you followed me very long at all, I'm not a pest on anything. I'm not going to bombard you with junk. I just want to give you great interviews and point you to some good news. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I hope are many more interviews to come with the great Don Felder. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Good, buddy.
Hello, Don.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Can you see me?
I can see you in living color.
Darn. Well,
Just don't do any.
I've had one cup of coffee and I've got one eye open, so I may have to have another cup of coffee to get the other eye
Well,
open out here.
sip away while we're talking. No problem there. I'm
Yeah.
just nursing a LaCroix water in my glass here. So, where are you clicking in from?
I'm actually home. We're here for a couple of more days. We've been this tour, the Brotherhood of Rock tour, has been fantastic. I have to tell you, I've toured on and off with Styx and with REO and Foreigner and the Doobie Brothers, a bunch of people. But this group of people, not only the musicians, but their guitar techs, people that support it all, the front of house, the lighting direct, everybody is like a big family. We've all worked together for so many years. There's no diva, there's no ego stuff. We're just having a party and having fun, hanging out, and making great music together, making a lot of people happy. So literally, it's 4 hours of solid hits. Just I come out and do a bunch of Eagle stuff and heavy metal and some of my solo things from the vault, a couple of track, well, one new track from the vault, and then Kevin comes out and just kills it with all the REO hits, and then Styx comes out and just drives the last nail in. There's any people that had any doubts about the show. As a matter of fact, it's just such a crowd pleaser from the get go to the very end.
Well, I know that to be a fact because I caught your gig in Greenville, South Carolina a couple months back. And
That was
my
our
good
first
friend,
show. Yeah.
yeah. And my good friend Matt Bissonette, which I believe you know his brother a little bit from this last album. He and I are good friends, and so we met before the show, and I had interviewed Lawrence Gowan a couple times, and more recently for this specific tour in their new album. So, yeah, that show was. I was going to tell you that was among the best shows I'd ever seen in my almost 66 years. And that's including my first concert I ever went to, which was Elvis Presley in
Wow.
1973. So yeah,
Wow.
it's in that Hall of Fame of concerts, man. And I'm glad you brought it up. So,
No, it's
so
just a joy, being on the road. You get that time on stage where you're actually doing it, and then there's probably 22 hours a day where you got to live with the people that are in the bands and the crews and the buses and the truck drivers, everybody. This is the most just special group of people. Nobody is going to put any weird demands down. We're just lucky at our age that we're out there rocking it out for 10, 12, 20,000 people, and they're still loving it. So we're having
Yep.
a great time. By the end of the
Well,
show, everybody is almost totally exhausted from standing up and dancing and clapping and having a good okay, okay, enough.
well, I remember in Greenville, and I don't know if you, I'm sure you could see her from the stage because she was right up front, but there was a lady down there in a wheelchair. And man, she's getting with it as you guys were going. I mean, she wasn't going to let her, whatever was, inhibiting her physically, she wasn't going to let that keep her from having a good time and enjoying the music.
Yeah.
So, it was phenomenal. And before I get into more of that, one thing I wanted to thank you for is not only for joining me today because I know you're very very busy, but I want to also call out the fact that to thank you for all the great years of phenomenal music. I mean, such a sound. Your work has occupies so much of the soundtrack of my youth, man. I can't tell you how many times I've played air guitar to your guitar riffs. So, and that's about as good as I get, man. Hand me a real guitar and, I got nothing. So,
That's hysterical. Well, that all that music really has occupied my life so much too. Writing it, playing it, creating it, touring with it, recording, and that kind of brings me back to the vault. If you want to talk
mhm.
about that for just a minute, I lived out in Malibu for 29 years. And I went through five major fires out there, and I had friends that lost their houses, studios burned down, guys had incredible guitar collections gone.
Mhm.
And so back in 2000, after the last fire I went through, I said, I'm going to move to town. I'm just going to, it's beautiful out here, but fire is something that comes through there regularly. And
Yep.
so I moved into town. I had a recording studio out there. I put all my console and my tape machines and the outboard geared microphone and all the tapes and everything in a storage. And in the year 2000, when I moved into town, started renting a house, looking for a house to buy that I could put my studio in. So I wound up finding this house I'm in now. I bought it from Seal, who had in this room his studio that he was recording and working on. So when I bought it, he moved all of his equipment out. And instead of getting my old equipment with 24 track tape machines and all that, I said, I'm going to put in a new digital studio with all digital brand new consoles and Pro Tools and all that stuff. So in the process, I was sitting here, it must have been about in the middle of COVID, like 2021, 2022. I'm going, I don't even know what's in that locker. I haven't seen that locker for 20 years. And here I am paying $1,000 a month for storage for 20 years. I went, I should go take a look and see if that stuff is even worthy of continuing. So I walk in and there's the tape machines and it's all just as we put it away. And on the floor, there's this big cardboard box. And in this cardboard box, there's about 100 cassettes. And there's ADATs and there's CDs. And every time I would be working on something, I would make mixes of rough stuff and save them. And when I first joined the Eagles, my friend Bernie Ledden said, if you want to write songs for the Eagles, don't write lyrics, don't write melody. Just write music beds. Intro, verse one, verse two, chorus, verse three, chorus, solo, chorus, chorus, chorus out, right? Just in a song structure and give those tracks to Don and Glenn. And if they hear something they like, they'll write the lyrics and sing it to it. So every time we were doing a project, I just write, 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 write. And I wound up with these boxes full of demos that were never used. So we brought all that box over here and we started transferring all those cassettes. You usually get one or two plays before the oxide on it just rubs off and it just
Mhm.
goes away. So we set it up and made digital transfers at 96K into Pro Tools. And in the process, I'm hearing these song ideas. I went, that was a great slide riff. I should I should steal that from 1974 that I did. And so I went through and found six really what I thought were unfinished, great tracks, good song ideas, no lyrics, no melody. And so I went and reproduced those tracks in today's quality, including heavy metal. I did a whole new cut of heavy metal
Yeah.
because the old one sounds great, but it just sounds a little dated. And today's
Yeah.
technology, you could make that song sound spectacular. So we re-recorded it, and I've just had so much fun looking back at myself 20 something years ago or 50 something years ago, writing these ideas and going, damn, that was good, and going back in and finishing them. So that's what the vault's all about. It's really is songs and song ideas that I started over 50 years, wound up finishing them and putting out this record. I think I wrote two new songs for it. I wrote one about my girlfriend called "I Like the Things You Do," and and I wrote one called Hollywood Victim, which is about, here in LA, when you go to a restaurant, I would say 95% of the people working in the restaurant, whether they're servers or hostess at the front desk or whatever, are here in LA to make it in show business, either singers or actors or whatever. And they're just doing that job waiting for their big break. But underneath that whole environment of the Hollywood stardom and the stars on Hollywood Boulevard is this really ugly, kind of nasty part of the music business. Not the music. I love the music. There's some stuff about the music business that is just wrong, and
Yeah.
it's quite discouraging, from time to time. So I wrote a song about Hollywood Victim.
Yep.
But anyway, I just had a blast doing it. It's going over really well. We're selling copies at the live shows, at the merch and stuff. But the one thing I wanted to talk to you about is my girlfriend, who is exceptionally smart, Jaden, came up with this idea that we should put together something like a sweepstakes, a giveaway. And all the money that comes in from that will go to St. Jude's Hospital. And we just started August 1st when it just opened. So, but during this tour for all of August that we're out, we're going to be campaigning for that to try to get people to spend, if you spend $50, you're entered in this sweepstakes where you can win. If it's in the first week, you can win a brand new Sunburst Les Paul from Gibson, who's donating that. You can win a white double neck guitar if you're drawn out of the thing. It includes two all expense paid airfares from wherever you are in the United States to Nashville. And then my buddy who owns the Westin Hotel, and it has the absolute biggest suite you've ever seen in your life on top of the Westin. And
I've been to that hotel. So
yeah, he's donating that suite for that weekend for these
wow.
people to fly to Nashville and have all carte blanche, everything. We're gonna go literally, it's not even a block from the Westin over to the Gibson garage. We're gonna
Right.
go in there and take this person, show them Gibson garage. If they want a guitar lesson from me, I'll give them an hour's lesson. If you want me to teach them how I play something or just scales or whatever it is, then we're going to go down into the basement of the Gibson garage, and they have a vault, ironically enough, just literally a big locked vault that you can open the door, and in it are all the very first original guitars, like the Les Paul and the acoustic J200 and all the Explorer, the very first ones that were made on their production. It's like their history of guitars, and very few people get to go into the vault and actually see it. So anyway, and then they're going to be taken over to the Musicians Hall of Fame, and they'll be given a tour through the Musicians Hall of Fame, which I have the honor of being inducted. I think Frampton inducted me about, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years ago. I don't remember what
Yeah.
year it is. Anyway, and have a personal tour of that. And I'll be doing a showcase there at Gibson at the Gibson Garage the next day for the public to come in, and I'll be interviewed and playing and talking about Gibson and stuff. To just so that person will be included and all that. So it's about 2 days of hanging out with me,
Wow. Very
and we
cool.
we have all sorts of stuff to give away. You know, it's a 100% donations to St. Jude Children's Hospital. It's just the place to go. So that's all part of it, that we're campaigning for people to enter the sweepstakes to be able to benefit the St. Jude's. You know, they should go
Well,
to donfelder.com/contests. Donfelder.com/contests, and that will take you right to the page where they can make a contribution to the cause. $50. I mean, that's, you get to win all of this other stuff for
all of
50
that.
bucks. Oh, but you can give more than $50 if you want, if you really feel that strongly about St. Jude's. And we're hoping some of my more affluent friends will definitely give more than $50.
Well, I do want to get back to your album here in a second, but since we're talking about St. Jude, I think it's so cool that, I mean, St. Jude and rock and roll are no strangers to each other. I mean, going way, way back, Elvis Presley was writing checks to them every year.
Yeah.
And, I grew up as an Elvis fan, obviously, from what I told you a moment ago, but that was, just to be able to see that partnership between rock and roll and St. Jude's for very worthy cause. But from what I've read, there's a very special reason why you wanted to help St. Jude, and that's because of what you went through. Is that correct?
That's right. When I was around 4.5, 5 years old, I went into my house and started complaining to my mom that I just felt really tired, sick, and not good. So she took me to the doctor, like any mom would. They couldn't quite diagnose exactly what it was from the initial onset. So they put me in a hospital in a children's ward where there were kids coming in there that had all sorts of problems. One of them had came in and had been put in an iron lung because of polio, and polio was just running rampant. They had developed a vaccine for it, the salt vaccine, and they were just giving me these vaccines almost every other day. If it was going to work, if the polio wasn't going to get me, the salt vaccine was going to get me. Anyway, so I had on my pillow, there was no television in this children's hospital ward, that section, but it had this little round flat speaker, and it hooked up to a radio. So I would just lay there and listen to music day in and day out, hour after hour, trying not to look at the guy in the iron lung, and just I lived it, that fear. So I know what it feels like to be put in a hospital. Even though you're there to be treated, it's just frightening as a child. But St.
Yeah.
Jude's provides housing for the parents. There's no charge for any of the medical treatment. They provide food and clothes and airfare and everything. So those parents can be there at the hospital while those children are being treated. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I'm glad that first of all, thank you for sharing that, but I'm glad you're doing this continual thing there to keep, rock and roll and St. Jude's working together and all that, putting smiles on a lot of, not just the kids, but their families. That's God's hand extended, definitely.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Well,
Um,
I've probably done 6 to 8 fundraisers at golf tournaments for St. Jude's, where me and Alice Cooper and even Kevin Cronin and different people get up and play, 4 or 5 songs to help with the donations for St. Jude's. So I love the cause. I've been doing it for a long time, but this is really something we're hoping we can reach out to thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of people this August to really fund the research to the best ability we can do. We
yeah.
want to put a lot of money in St. Jude's research pocket.
Well, I know Alice. I grew up in Phoenix. I'm here in the Smoky Mountains now, but I grew up in Phoenix. Everybody's you walk around Phoenix and everybody supposedly knew Alice back in the day, or their sister dated him or whatever. But, but, and I'm sure it's that same way in your hometown, but they're, to see what Alice does. I mean, everybody thinks he's a scary guy, but man, what a heart of gold that guy has. And,
Yeah, yeah,
wants to help kids. And
yeah,
he does such a great job of that. So,
yeah.
and to hear that you guys work on is amazing.
Yeah, and I do his Christmas pudding about every 3 years or 4 years,
Yeah.
something like that. And it's a great weekend to be able to go over and play golf, usually with Alice or Dax Nielsen or somebody that I know over there, and then play a little music for him and help raise money for his children's
Yep.
organization. Yeah.
Yeah. So this album, man, I love what you've done with it. And what I find striking is you're not alone in people that have had these demos, these rough cuts, these segments of such. Because I've interviewed Cosmo Clifford from CCR, or formerly of CCR, and he released a couple of albums of the exact same kind of work where he recorded these things, back in the late '60s, maybe early '70s, and then they sat there for eons, and then he dusts them off and puts them out. And just like with the Vault, it sounds fresh and new, but classic all at the same time. And so, and the Vault's the same way, man. I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, I think I should have heard this before, but I haven't. This is new.
Oh yeah. Which
So,
one did you think that sound the most familiar from
oh,
the past?
let me pull it up here because I should have known you were going to ask me that, and I was thinking about it when you were saying that. But there was, first of all, I really thought like Blue Skies. They just had such a almost desperado type of vibe to it,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let me down easy was another one that I mean, I don't know, man. You put me on the spot. I'm supposed to be putting you on the spot, but there's just so much that just feels, you know, I don't know, just like it's new and old all at the same time. And that's why I like talking to guys like you, because I want the audiences to know, and there's a lot of a lot of people obviously already know this, but not only do you own the soundtrack of our youth, but you're still putting stuff out there and it's still good, fresh, and relevant. And I don't think a lot of people fully appreciate that fact and what you guys do to make that happen. But
Well, I only have enough time. I do between 75 and 90 live shows a year, probably more
wow.
this year because we're touring as well. But when
Hmm.
I come home to the studio. And so I am constantly taking little ideas, like the one of the songs on this record, I Like the Things You Do. My girlfriend and I were home off the road. We went to the gym. She's on a treadmill right next to me. I'm running on another treadmill. I can't listen to music while I'm on the treadmill because I have to move in time with the music if I listen to it. So I'm just I'm just running away, and I keep looking over at her and she's running. I keep hearing, I like the things you do. I really like the things you do. And I'm singing it to the meter that I'm running on a treadmill. So I pick up my cell phone like this. I go, I really like all the things that you do. And I record it, right? It's just, I've got to catch
Right.
that little moment of inspiration and record it. So I look over, the guy next to me is looking at me going, what the heck are you doing? Singing on the phone on your treadmill? But it doesn't matter if I'm, riding down 101 freeway doing 75 and I get that idea, I sing it into my phone. Or if I'm sitting around, the other day I was sitting around watching some movie and the score progression of the orchestra, the chord changes were just magnificent. So I rewound it, recorded it, listened to it 3 or 4 times, and figured it out on acoustic guitar. Just a beautiful progression. So I have a storage of little snippets of inspiration. Like when the hotel started, all I had was a progression, a verse progression, and I had to
Hmm.
flush it all out and write and record the bass part and the guitar parts and the harmony parts and the 12 string part and all the other stuff that went on. The reggae part was all in my demo, you know. So I've gotten pretty good at taking a little idea and putting flesh on the bones, making it into a song.
Well, that's what makes artists artists, right? You know, I'm a writer and I like to do the same thing. I'll have a little snippet of something, but oddly enough, what kicks me into writing mode is when I hear a song. It could be Hotel California. It could be, you know, any of the, and I typically draw from the classics, but I'll use a line from that song, use the title from the song it came from, and then write about what that line means to me or something that brings it to mind, whatever. And, you know, I'll write 800 or 1,000 words for it, just article
Wow.
size. And that's
Yeah.
how it all feeds off of each other, right? So,
Yeah.
but so how long did this album, once you decided to that, hey, I've got a gold mine here, I got this vault. How long from the point of light bulb going off in your head to completion, mastered and ready to package?
I would say 4 years. It took
Wow.
a while to be able to do that. I think I discovered that box in either 2020 or 2021 when I went back to the vault or to the storage unit and saw that. And then we brought it right over that week and started transferring. And then I heard these song ideas and I went, I should finish these things. So it takes time because, like I said, I do between 75 and 90 shows a year on the road. So I'm out on the road. I come back. I have 3, 4, 5 days. I'm in the studio and I can do as much as I can. Then I leave again for 10 days and I come back. Now we leave for between a month to 5 weeks. We leave,
Yeah.
I think, on the 6th and we'll be out till probably the end of the first week of September. So we're rolling, and I won't be able to record much, but I'll be singing in my phone.
So going through all this, what would you say were the biggest one or two surprises for you as an artist in in this treasure trove that was in the vault that you go, holy smokes, Felder, this is great, or wow, I totally forgot about this. I and maybe even thought, I wish I'd thought of this back, you know, to use this on something else or whatever. Was there anything like that that took place?
I think the song "Let Me Down Easy" was an idea that I just heard a little snippet of on a cassette and went back in, and the gal that had sung the vocal on that demo, Nina, was just an amazing performance. And I thought, well, what if I take this old demo track out from underneath her vocal performance and I build a whole new section underneath it? And so I used, I think it was, I think Nathan East played bass on it. Greg Fillinganes played keyboards on it. Let's see. Jim Keltner played drums on it. With fabulous, and that combination of those musicians was just fantastic. And what it did was it just put this unbelievably glorious track underneath this amazing vocal performance, and it was just so, well, let's do this and try to make something that's unique. And came out surprisingly well. I've had not only the record label wanted to release that as one of the singles. I said, well, it's not me singing. They said, I know, but it's a great track. I said, well, people will discover it on the album when they hear it. And a lot of
Mhm.
people really like that because it's kind of big and strong and a great vocal performance. So that was the surprise.
When I was going through the list of who all you had on there, there's two or three people I've had the privilege of interviewing. You just mentioned Nathan, and it just clicked while you were just talking about him, and that is, and I thought about this about you while I was working on prepping for this interview and watching some of your other interviews you've done, and I'm struck by, despite the combat you've been involved with over the years, you've got a very, and this may sound weird, but you got a very sweet spirit about you, and I equate that to how Nathan East is. I mean, good Lord! I mean, I watched him perform with Clapton in Nashville at the Bridgestone right when
Yeah.
the pandemic was lifting, the shutdown was lifting, and everybody was just glad to be at concerts again, right? And,
Yeah.
you know, watching him on that stage or watching him on video or whatever, I mean, he just exudes joy and sweetness. And I found it remarkable in watching the interviews over the years. I picked out several, especially when the book first came out and all that. And I was expecting bitterness. But even in your book, that's the reason why I had to reread it. Even in your book, you seem to handle some things that would have destroyed people emotionally. And you come out and you're still smiling and you're still you're still excited about life. You're still creating, and it's kind of like, hey, it kind of sucked, but I keep on moving on. And I'm struck by that. I think that's an inspiration to people. Has anybody come back to you and said, hey, your story has inspired me?
Some people have written after they've read the book and said, I went through a very similar thing with my company, and I can really relate to that. And I don't think it's something that's so unusual, a parting from a group of partners that you had that didn't work out anymore. But I just think all the talents that everybody in that band, the Eagles, brought to the studio and brought to the writing table, we just had amazing vocals, great songwriters, a great guitar parts, Randy Meisner singing spectacular, piercing high tone. It was just a magical combination that produced all those things. So how can I look back and be angry at any of those people? If you look at our work and look at what we did, it really makes it all worthwhile. So I'm proud to have had that experience. And anyway, I've got to run here. We got another one just right around the
Oh,
corner.
okay. All
Another
righty.
interview, if that's okay. Thank you for taking the time to do this. And if you want to come out to another show, let me know, and we'll give you tickets and passes so you can go backstage and say hello. And
I
I
may
can
try to,
thank you.
I may try to catch you in Kingsport next month. So,
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
yeah. So, all righty, man. Well, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks again for doing this, brother. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
This has been another fun-filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quinton Hope. Quinton is spelled Quinten, and Hope is Hope. And you can find out more about Quinton at quintonhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2025.